Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Align and Thrive, Live Your Truth. I'm Rosalie Didana from The Purifying Place. And today we are going to discuss, let's see, where did I put it? 5 questions to reclaim trust in your divine timing and to know that you are not behind, you are in the process of. Number one, what if this season of this perceived delay is actually a sacred pause, meant to strengthen the version of you who can fully hold what you've been asking for and what you've been desiring. So, how can we then, in this moment of having this desire and not physically holding it yet, how can we let this space inspire us instead of disappoint us? And how can we move with the energy that reflects the person who already has that desire? Because if we're operating from this place of distrust, of lack, of scarcity, of fear, that doesn't reflect to the universe, to God, to source, to ourselves, that we are the person that holds that desire. So we will never have it. So instead of frantically and unconsciously and chaotically moving in this energy of, I need to get it done. I need to check everything off my list. I don't have that thing yet. Like, I need to learn more. I need to do more, all this stuff. How can we reframe it for ourselves in a way that empowers us? In a way where we can show up from a place of knowing that we can have whatever we truly desire, whatever is in our hearts, and bring that to fruition with the energy that's going to reflect the person that holds it. Which leads into number two. Um, can you honor what's blooming within you, even if the external evidence hasn't arrived yet? So again, we're in this position of having this desire in our heart, whether it's in our business, in our relationship, in our personal life, in our fitness, whatever it might be, and we don't have the desired outcome yet. But how can we honor what's inside of us that will lead us to um, having that thing now? Because in this world everyone's so focused on results, right? Very practical, like, I need to see the results, we need to measure how much we're making, how much we're increasing, and all these external markers of success, basically, right? And those are celebrated a lot more and louder sometimes than our own internal growth. And those are all extrinsic motivators, right? They're all outside of us. But the biggest growth, I believe, and know for myself and for many of my clients that I work with, is the growth that comes from within, the internal growth. And when you don't have that desire in your field yet, when you haven't brought it into this physical world, into your experience yet, um, the truth is everything begins in the unseen. And how can you move with the knowing of that? Knowing that even though I don't physically see it yet, doesn't mean I'm never going to have it. Doesn't mean I'm not worthy of it. Doesn't mean I can't make it happen, or I won't be able to receive it, or whatever it is. And all this lack, fear-based thinking that just pushes our desires further and further away from us. So how can we move from this empowered place of setting and shifting our own frequency, even through whatever difficulties may be coming up in the process of this becoming? Because it's not easy, right? There's some friction, there's some dissonance, there's some shifting that happens when we make the conscious decision to align with the truth of who we are and who we're becoming. Um, and that happens because, now that you might be moving with more intention of what you want to create, when before maybe you weren't, and your current life has to reflect this new version of you, and the old version of you who was maybe living more unconsciously, more unintentionally. All of that has to change, which comes with almost like these growing pains of, things falling away, things changing, things, a lot of just change, right? It's like the crumbling of your old self, your old identity, your old life that catches up with the inner work that you've been working on so far, which will then create the space and the capacity to hold that new version of you, of who you are, and the outer world will eventually catch up with that. So, how can you hold that frequency of who you are becoming and who you are now, with that, desired outcome in your mind's eye, knowing that's who you are, who you're becoming, and creating in every step of the way? How can you hold that even when things might be falling apart, when things you might not know what's coming next? It might feel a little scary to your nervous system that all this change is happening, and maybe your old limiting beliefs are starting to creep up and say, like, who do you think you are? Like, trying to keep you small and shrink again and go back to your old way of being. And sometimes we can let this deter us to think, oh my gosh, I must be on the wrong path. It shouldn't have to feel this bad. Um, and that's a common mistake, that alignment is going to feel good all the time in our body. That's how we know it's a yes. And that's how we know we're on the right path. That's not always the case. In fact, in the beginning, again, with when you're starting to be more intentional, after intention, there tends to be disruption. And I just, I did a voice message on this in my private Telegram community. You're welcome to join. I'll put the link below, but about how when we start becoming more intentional, disruption happens because um, something's got to give, right? We're creating something new, then something old's got to go. So let's see. And so again, trust and hold this frequency and know that your desires are coming into fruition, even if you don't see them yet. Um, and that requires surrender, that requires faith, that requires believing in the unseen. And even though you don't see it physically yet, feel the truth of it in your body. Feel the truth of it in your body as if you have it now, right? Okay, let's go to number 3. Where are you measuring your progress by comparison rather than by your own soul's timeline? Because, we hear that saying all the time, right? Comparison is the thief of joy, but also it's the thief of clarity. Because if we're constantly comparing our own journey and our own um, accomplishments or desires or whatever they are to someone else's, we we lack the clarity to know what's truly meant for us, because we're no longer leading from our own sense of being. We're leading based on someone else's life. So it no longer is a clear path that's really truly ours, right? Um, Again, you disconnect from your own inner guidance and you outsource your power to then um, allow someone else's life to basically say which way you should go in your life. And that's like handing over the steering wheel to a complete stranger that you don't even know, that you saw on the internet. It sounds so silly when you put it that way. Like, oh yeah, here I am driving my car, and then I see somebody, some stranger I don't know, and I start comparing myself to them. Okay, well, just let them drive your car. A complete stranger, right? So no, we don't want to do that. Because each soul is unique. Each path is different, and we're not meant to fit in someone else's timeline. We all have our own unique path that we have to honor, and trust that we are on divine timing, right? It's all part of the plan. And recognize, if you might be in this slow period of your life where, or even your business or whatever it be, where you feel like you're not making as much progress as you feel like you should be, or things, maybe you're in this isolation period where you're not spending a lot of time with other people. Like it just seems like a very slow, quiet time. Understand that um, there's a reason for this, right? There are lessons meant to be learned. There's this pace might be, again, it's all for a reason. We might not be able to make meaning of it in the moment until we're looking back and realizing just how everything played out, right? Because um, the moment you kind of take your attention off your own experience and start looking at other people's and seeing where they're at and seeing where they've been and where they're going, um, you again you lose out on what's right in front of you, what's meant for you, what's unfolding right in front of your eyes. So stay present, stay aware, or stay in the now, and trust yourself. Okay, number 4, if you fully trusted that nothing is being withheld from you, how would you show up today? How would you show up today? And this kind of like ties in with what I was saying before, is how can you show up in a way where you're already the person that holds that desire, that holds that um, thing that you want, right? Because the underlying truth of it all is that we are innately whole. We are innately abundant, right? There's nothing that we are lacking. And how can we begin to, instead of creating these stories of lack and creating the stories of not having enough, of fear, of victimness, of victim mentality, right? These are all distortions. And um, how can we then shift that from a place of knowing that the desire is already on its way? If it's not here now, it's already on its way. How would you go about your day? How would you show up in your business? How would you show up in your relationships? And I feel like, I think it was Louise Hare, someone mentioned this example of, think of your manifestation or what you're desiring or creating to be like putting your order in at the restaurant, right? You say what you tell the waiter what you would like, and you expect, and you not even expect, you just know that it's coming. It's on its way. And how can we move? We're not constantly like looking in the kitchen to see if they're cooking it or asking the waiter every second, like, is it coming? Is it coming? We just know it's on its way. How can we move in a way that resembles that in our own life, right? And know that this desire that we have, it's on its way, right? It's on its way. What version of you would show up, right? You would be a much more magnetic person because you're not constantly shifting out your power to, I don't have it, where is it, right? That leaks a lot of energy. Um, and okay, let's go to number 5, last one. What version of you is being asked to emerge right now? And what part of you is afraid to let go of who you've been? Um, And this is a good one. It's, with this transformation, with this becoming, with holding these new desires, there's a part of us that also grieves the old, grieves who we were, grieves the old identity, right? Grieves the old relationships because it's bittersweet, right? That version of you has kept you safe for this long, has gotten you to where you are now. And maybe, it wasn't the most easiest journey, but we have this reverence and respect for who you were, and have the compassion to see and the empathy to understand that that's no longer who we are, right? And I feel like our eyes are open to see, all the things that we were so unaware of before, but at the same time make us love ourselves even more because we gain this understanding, compassion for ourselves and for others that we were never broken. There was nothing wrong with us. We all make mistakes, and it's all part of the path. It's all part of the journey. This pain becomes our purpose, right? This, the when we come through and we go through that pain, we go through that portal and come out on the other side, we see with new eyes. We have this greater sense of awareness and compassion to use that pain in a gift to serve humanity, to serve those who are also suffering. And um, again, there's this new version of ourself that emerges, um, that when we look back on who we were, we have to recognize that old person is gone now. That shell has been removed, that it's, lying there on the floor. It's no longer part of us. We're becoming anew. We've been rebirthed, and just the weight of releasing that can stir up old emotions, can stir up old ways of feeling and being, and be gentle with yourself through this process, right? And recognize that that is part of the process, it's part of the releasing, it's part of the transformation. And at the same time, honor and love and celebrate yourself for how far you've come in your journey and for how much farther you'll go. Um, and ask and have this courage, because there's going to be another level of expansion, another level of embodiment, right? A deeper level. And each time we step into the unknown, each time we transform, each time we um, play on the edges of our boundaries, it can feel unsafe, it can feel scary, it can feel um, impossible. But each time we do it with more wisdom. We do it with more faith, with more support and clarity and discernment that just enriches us, right? And um, the winters and the hardships and the scary moments and all the things that we're so afraid of having, like, bad things are just not going to go away, like bad things, quote unquote, right? These trials or these tribulations are not going to disappear. It's part of the season and the cycle of life. And when we can learn from our past pains and um, embody, what we've learned at a deeper level and have this wisdom that we carry within us and then share with others, each time we do that, we just become more and more fortified in who we are, in God, in what we believe to be true for ourselves and everyone around us. And that's beautiful, right? Instead of, on the other end of that, being stuck, staying stagnant, repeating the old past wounds that we do over and over and over and over again. Um, relinquishing our power, all this stuff. So just recognize that you are, this version of you who's becoming, who's elevating, who's expanding, who's releasing. That's a freer version of you, right? You have the consciousness and the clarity and the, um, you're awakened to the fact that you can really consciously choose your decision. You are the creator. And that's amazing. And that's what I wish for all my clients when I work with them. There's this new, more aligned, fully expressed version of you. And you can't step into that version of you each time if you're constantly holding on to who you used to be. And that includes the old you who, with the same old relationships, same old environments. And at some point, something's got to give. And we know it deep down, right? I know for me too, when I was, stepping into this new version of myself, it had already been done. And I was still trying to, like, hang around with the same old people and kind of do the same old things, but you'll know it doesn't resonate. it doesn't feel good. In fact, you might even feel worse. Like before you would do those things, you felt normal. You felt like, oh, this is what I always do. And then when you try to do them again, you're like, whoa, this just is not energetically a match for me anymore. This is not who I am anymore. And that's okay, right? That's okay. Um, and yeah, so I hope this helped you, the 5 questions. And, you know, again, feel free to go back and journal on these, think about them more deeply, and allow them to transform your life. Um, I hope to see you next time. Enjoy your weekend. I love doing these so much. So much fun to reflect with you guys and hear how this might be helping you reflect and see yourself in a new way that shifts your perspective about something you maybe have never thought of before. And if you like these, feel free to again join my private community on Telegram. It's just my channel where I share voice messages that are very similar to this in real time as these downloads, as these intuitive hits come through. I just share them on there. And um, yeah, it's just another way to support you on this journey of life because as a collective, as a whole, we're all going through this, right? We're all going through this together. And it's just another way for me to be of service and to help you again along your path. But thank you so much for being here. I'll see you guys next time. Talk to you later.